Feels like this crap is never ending.
No, I'm doing my intro.
Hi, my name is Sydney, welcome back to hell. And as per usual, before we launch in, this video is sponsored by Sheath Underwear. And also, by me. I have some limited edition—
Oh, this guy.
Breaking, I'm inside Nancy Pelosi's office with thousands of revolutionaries who stormed the building. To put into perspective how quickly staff evacuated, emails are still on the screen alongside Federal Alert warning members of the current revolution. Bro, this guy's like insane, dude. He has to go to jail, right? Like, there's no freedom of fucking press in that circumstance. What the fuck? Why are you admitting to breaking every law? Blaze, dude, he's at Blaze. So again, he thinks he can get away with it.
or subscribe to the email list on my website because it helps me tremendously if YouTube ever decides to axe me.
I sure fucking hope it does.
It's worth remembering that the radical activists, this transgender theory, gender theory in general, will still have gained some ground. And these people will still have gained some ground when it comes to their endeavors. Even if these activists have only advanced their agenda a little bit, whether that comes in the form of invading female spaces, erasing language surrounding gender, or erasing women as a general rule, changing language to accommodate their version of reality, or even normalizing things that are objectively not normal.
Like homosexuality?
Before you once again board my hell gondola and I take you down into depression land, where we talk about the ways in which women are once again being erased by objectively crazy people, let's hear from our sponsor, Sheath Underwear. I'm not a—
Aw, for fuck's sake.
The Daily Wire's Matt Walsh went on Dr. Phil recently and interacted with two self-professed non-binary people. If you're anything like me and you're still trying to work out how someone can be non-binary when binary refers to two options, and if there's only two options and you're neither of those options, then you're a nothing. Well, hello. Welcome to planet Earth, where everything is a giant joke and nothing makes sense.
What do you mean that didn't make sense? If you're not any of the two, then you're non-binary. By definition.
Wow, Sydney, thank you so much for your input on a topic that you clearly don't understand as a cisgender heteronormative bigot.
Yeah, not only are you a transphobe, but you are also a white nationalist who has propped up the far-right South African genocide conspiracy theory. You have spreaded Islamophobia.
Do bring in a lot of people that are from the Middle East. I mean, in fact, most of the numbers are from the Middle East. They're from China, they're from India, and then actually the UK, interestingly enough. But I think that's probably more a result of the Commonwealth than anything.
Right.
But then what you find is that some of these people are non-integratables, you know, like they don't assimilate very well into Australia, and therefore, as far as a lot of us are concerned, sometimes it might be more preferable to bring in people who are from traditionally Western or white countries. Why would you come here on a boat? Well, we don't know who you are. We have no concept of if you're a criminal or your background or anything like that. So why would we let you in? This is the thing I always ask, is why would we let you in when we don't know who you are?
Yeah. Well, the truth is that race doesn't matter, but culture does matter. But Muslims are one of the few where you're starting to see the children more radical than their parents, like the Sarnev brothers here in Boston. Their parents are kind of secular, and they grew up lifting weights and listening to Van Halen, and then the next thing you know, they want to blow up the marathon because they've been radicalized.
Yeah, it's true.
You follow Lauren Chen on Twitter, who is a white supremacist.
IQ differences amongst the races are indisputable. The debate is whether it's attributable to nature, nurture, or a combination of both. Just, you know, common conservative talking points, race and IQ, so on.
Couldn't possibly be because they have overwhelmingly homogenous populations, right? Populations that, by the way, also have a higher average IQ and narrower distribution than the US does.
So, overwhelmingly more homogenous populations and higher IQ. So, first of all, let's not kid ourselves. This is Nazi shit, okay? Like, let's not pretend when you're talking about cultural homogeneity and IQ, It's pretty clear what you're talking about. So what you're saying is America can't have healthcare because of brown people. Very cool, Shu. And this is the purpose of dog whistling. Every single person who likes Lauren Chen watched Lauren Chen in that video, and when she said IQ and cultural homogeneity, they know exactly what Lauren Chen meant. There was no doubt in their mind, absolutely no ambiguity in their minds as to what they meant. It's the easiest thing in the world for them to derive. They say, oh yeah, because the blacks, the browns, yeah, obviously, you know. Blacks are low IQ, they're in our country. Yeah, if we had a white ethno-state, it'd be better, white like Germany. Except wait, Germany also has millions of brown migrants. But we'll ignore that. At Lauren Chen, let's guess what kind of dog it was. Lauren Chen responds, one where the overwhelming stats say nothing about the breed, I'm sure. Now, if you spent any time on Poll, you know that this is a pit bull reference. But they do the pit bull thing with like the black thing, you know, like pit bulls are dangerous, black people are dangerous. It's about the level of dog whistle you would expect from people with the average IQ of a neo-Nazi.
Yeah, don't we love the input of people who can't work out what gender they are?
Nice, so the opinions of transgender people are not valid.
Addison, this person, counters and says what happens if a woman has organs that don't work and can't reproduce, or doesn't have some of the organs in question in reference to what Matt was talking about. And honestly, I think this is something that I answered already in my video, The Erasure of Women, but I do want to repeat it again for good measure. Women are genetically programmed to produce ova and bear young. This is a fact.
Females, not women.
And whether or not that female eventually does produce offspring or reproduces, whether they are born intact with all their female anatomy or whether their female anatomy works is not the issue. Even non-functioning female anatomy is still female anatomy.
If you're born infertile and not being able to produce ova, then you're not a female by definition. What else would they be? And these people say that you're either one or the other, right? But we had a case where there's a true human hermaphrodite. So facts don't care about your feelings, I guess?
Addison, the non-binary person, took to Instagram to say this. Since the taping, Ethan and I have been experiencing a heightened level of anxiety to the point that we've had numerous nightmares and depression spirals over the last month. This week has been the worst. I'm not sure if they're saying this because they participated voluntarily in a show where someone questioned them and their ideas, which if you really think about it is kind of hilarious given that these people are making comments about the experiences of women and what it means to be a biological woman and questioning all of that while simultaneously getting very upset and traumatized and having nightmares because someone questioned their narrative. You can't make this stuff up.
Did they say that they were getting upset because of the interview? Or are you just being an idiot and being dishonest?
Dr. Phil invited anti-trans activists to spread hate on TV, and it's painful to watch. Dr. Phil's guests called transgender identity a delusion and mental illness.
Despite the medical, academic, and scientific communities recognizing the legitimacy of transgender people.
And then expected his trans guests to defend their existence. Don't these people kind of expect women to defend their existence? By basically telling us like all the time that our existence doesn't really mean anything and that anyone can be us? I hate it. Thanks for asking.
When they say defend their existence, they mean defend their validity as trans people.
I'm acutely aware of the fact that I've talked about this a lot, and obviously this video with Matt Walsh is just another illustration of how insane we're getting as a group of people, as a society. And I know that this topic is inevitably going to get bigger and bigger, and it's going to keep coming up again and again. But us consistently talking about it, I don't think is such a bad thing, because something has to give. If these kind of people are the ones directing conversation, then it's safe to say that we're not heading in a particularly good direction.
Oh, really? Because the academic and scientific communities agree with what they say.
And I think the truth of the matter is that this is extremely insulting and pretty offensive to biological women.
By that logic, you would say that a man wearing a dress is offensive to women because you're essentializing women with femininity, like how saying a white person wearing dreads is offensive.
So I made a video on my channel a little while back called The Erasure of Women, and I just went through a myriad of things that, you know, personally I feel are happening or that observably are happening where we're eroding language around women,
right.
you know, where like I'm a cervix haver rather than a female or a woman, or, you know, these actual terms that have existed for millennia that we have comfortably used for a very long time.
You're a birthing person.
I'm a birthing person.
Wait, yeah, men can get pregnant. Trans men are for the most part fertile females who identify as men. Facts have a left-leaning bias if you're not aware. This is why there are higher factual reporting rates for left-leaning sources.
No border, most since 2014, international agency says. I don't recall seeing that. Oh! Holy shit! Bring it in. Most factual lefty. There we go.
On the gender spectrum. Something about conservative parents that I don't like
High
is
factuality.
Closet.
and they seem to be very rooted in their ways and not.
Okay. You have something to say?
It's just nonsense. She's on the left and somehow hers is 100% factuality, where the guy before, Johnny, who was spinning facts, is only 75% factual with his news.
The entirety of the academic community, the overwhelming consensus, the overwhelming majority of them are left-leaning. The smartest people in this world are typically left-leaning. You say, oh, well, here's all the studies that debunk everything you say. Facts don't care about your feelings. Then they go, no. The institutions that collect this data and do these studies are all controlled by the left. They're leftist hellholes. Racism, I should say. We talk about disparities within the justice system. When you compare the treatment of black people to white people in the criminal justice system, over-policing of neighborhoods, socioeconomic status of black people and white people in this country, there is an undeniable, it is not disputed within the academic community. There is an undeniable...
Which doesn't mean really hardly anything, because they're all leftists anyway, so that in itself doesn't mean anything, because it's not...
Why do you think the academic community, some of the smartest people on this earth, scientists, sociologists, professors, all these things, who are learned in the way the world works, happen to be leftists?
So if they were to define these terms, they would find very quickly that their worldview would fall apart.
That's right.
Saying that a woman is nothing more than a feeling is, as you said, Buck, it's so insulting.
It's
because
insulting.
It renders me.
Woman is gender, female is sex. Woman is a made-up term. It doesn't mean anything.
What am I then? Because if we can't define what a woman is, and a woman is anybody who identifies as a woman, then we're better off saying that we're just people or we're humans.
Yeah.
And if we're humans, then that includes everyone.
That's
so
right.
woman means nothing. In the last little while, we've seen some people claim that trans women can experience periods because they get cravings and mood swings.
They did not say that. They said that they can experience some parts of a period, which can refer to the physical and emotional symptoms that people may experience before a period begins. Like mood swings.
And speaking of
By the way, the website I got that information from is a pro-science website.
female bodies, I recently saw an Insider article that described women as players with vaginas when referencing the TV game show Survivor.
Yeah, trans men exist, so what?
The British Columbia government in Canada recently tweeted about pregnant people and self-identifying pregnant people because, you know, it's not just women who can get pregnant today.
Trans men can get pregnant.
And if you aren't a woman, you can just self-identify as pregnant.
Who in the world is going to identify as pregnant?
Perhaps the best part of all of this is that we have people who say that they identify as neither male nor female, who dress like this, who act like this, telling the rest of us that female is an umbrella term that can encapsulate anyone.
Women, not females. Jesus Christ, do some fucking research.
And truthfully, I don't know how or why these people became the authority on what it means to be a woman, what it is to be a woman.
It can literally mean anything.
But I have to be honest, I'm extremely angry now that we're here. At this point in time, transgender ideology demands that, in the name of inclusion, we don't use words like men or women in the traditional context, as not to offend or exclude anyone whose self-identification or self-expression of gender doesn't line up with their biology.
Literally no one is saying that we don't use man or woman. We are just saying that trans men are men and trans women are women. If you think that's not the case, then why are they transgender?
We are now being told that the word women extends to everyone because if it doesn't, it might contradict the idea that biological men can be women and vice versa.
Yes?
Radical trans theory is
Gender theory, not trans theory.
effectively erasing the concept of womanhood for the sake of crystallizing the idea that being a man or a woman means really nothing at all.
Good.
And it gets even weirder than that. On one hand, you have womanhood being treated as a caricature based on observable physical traits. Apparently, anyone can have a period because they have cravings,
Total straw man.
and anyone can be a woman if they wear long dresses and makeup.
No, if you feel like a woman and you identify as a woman, you're a woman.
On the flip side of this, I've seen men who are very clearly, obviously men, say that they're women, make zero effort to appear as a woman, and still be considered a woman.
Nope, they're gender non-conforming women. You ain't getting away with the transphobia.
Think of it as the "it's ma'am" vibe.
Excuse me, it's ma'am. It is ma'am.
Got 'em.
National Review writer Alexandra DeSanctis, names are hard, described this as erasing womanhood through allowing biological males to don the mantle of femaleness simply by asserting that it is their birthright. I'm not gonna lie, whenever I read into this topic, I always find myself on these feminist blogs, and weirdly enough, and confusingly for me, I find myself agreeing with many of their sentiments.
Let's see here.
This is a Chucky Beat production.
National Review. Uh-huh. Media bias fact check. Of course.
Chucky Beat production.
Let's see here.
Take this quote, for example. Radical trans activists with the complicity of progressives earnestly attempting to support what they perceive as a vulnerable victim group are guilty of the worst form of misogyny in their ruthless campaign to erase from our thoughts the human female body as a unique life form.
Getting information from a trans exclusionary radical feminist, huh? A TERF.
I hate second wave feminism, dude. That's what led to the TERF movement, 100%. A bunch of women were raised to be girl bosses, and boys are icky and gross and also dangerous, and girls have to protect themselves against boys. And then whoops, it's 50 years later, and hey, some people with penises are women now, but since all the arguments we used before were biologically essentialist and therefore antithetical to the purposes of gender liberation, now we fucking turn them around to get to use them on trans women too.
To again reiterate something that I said in my Erasure of Women video. If biological men can be considered women, and if those biological men don't have anything in common with biological women besides being humans, then the word woman has no meaning. The trans community wants us to believe that the common characteristic across the group women is that these individuals all identify as women. But if they identify as women, that leads us back to the original question. What is this thing, woman, that they identify as? Surely, if they can identify as a woman, then they can identify what a woman is. And if no one can identify what a woman is, then how can anyone know if they are one? The definition, a woman is anyone who identifies as a woman, is a circular definition that leads nowhere.
Again, if you feel like a woman, you're a woman. Why are you a woman? Do you know what it feels like to be a woman? What does it feel like to be a woman to you?
In the end, this is all offensive, and I'm over it. I don't want to play this game, I don't want to participate in this anymore, and that's all I wanted to say. No doubt this conversation will continue to roll on, and the reality is, guys, if I have to suffer through it, so do you. Because we're a team. And that's what teams do.
I suffered more from this video.
Now open the floor to all of you. What do you all think? Are we actually erasing women? Am I just being a crazy person and this is not in fact happening? Do the non-binary they them people, are they making a good point? Is there something to be said for their ideology? Is this all complete insanity and we've completely lost the plot? And what do you generally make of this issue overall? As always, if you like the video, hit subscribe, the thumbs up button. If you
want to see more from me, I got videos coming soon. Later.
Stupid ass.